Hello, everyone, and welcome to Conversations in Horror, the podcast. I'm your host, Kevin L. Powers. I'm also the owner and operator of Something Wicked Entertainment and Events, and welcome to our show today. So, what I would like to do is I would like to tell you a little bit about what we've been doing over the last couple of years, because this is part of our kind of reinventing and kind of upping on the podcast. Because a lot of people out there haven't listened to our podcast before, but we want to make sure that anyone who's just jumping in actually gets a little bit of a closer idea of what we're doing. So what happens is me and a special guest, and the special guest can be a different person every week, talk about a particular horror film. Now, that horror film could be of many different genres or subgenres or different time periods. That being said, we have just tried to discuss as many different films from as many different decades as possible. So we've got a lot to cover. Now, that being said, what happens is we kind of have a conversation. We can sometimes critique or analyze or do a little bit of that, but it's kind of a general conversation, because why would you want to listen to someone just analyzing a movie? This isn't a scientific type of discovery. This is a fun podcast for you to enjoy listening on your way to work and whatnot. So, without further ado, I would like to bring in that special guest, and that is Sarah Panazzo. She has been around for a long time discussing these horror films with me. I want to thank her for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin.
And the film we are talking about is actually one of my favorite films, and that is The Descent, from director Neil Marshall, one of his early films, as he did a lot of great horror films. In fact, we have discussed some of them on our program before. So if you are a fan of Neil Marshall's, please make sure to check out some of the other films that he has done that we have already discussed. So, Panazzo, you gotta tell me, when did you see this film, and what was kind of your first reactions to it?
Honestly, I cannot remember when I first saw this movie, but I absolutely adore it. It's one of my favorites. Instead, I'm going to tell you about the first time I had my sister watch this movie, which was earlier this year. We went to a horror film festival, and they were showcasing this because of the anniversary. So we got to watch it in a theater, and it was a small, maybe 50-person theater, and we were in the front row. And all I told my sister was that this movie was about a bunch of women who go spelunking in caves, and did not mention anything else. And there were some big horror legends kind of sitting in the audience watching it with us, because, whatever, film fest. And she screamed so many times during this movie and almost left.
Oh,
multiple times, because she was not expecting what was happening. It's, like I said, it's one of my favorites. It's scary enough that it's claustrophobic, but then the entire other half of the movie is just genius.
Yeah, so this is actually my favorite of Neil Marshall's films as of right now, followed really closely by Dog Soldiers, which we've discussed before. And the reason being is that I had never seen, when I saw this, I saw it at the theater for the very first time. So I saw the trailer, and I don't think, for me, Neil Marshall had been that big at the time when this one came out.
Mm-hmm.
So I really wasn't paying attention to his career. But when I saw this trailer, I was like, oh, shit. I love watching monster movies in caves and shit. I love that type of stuff. And the fact that it was an entire female cast is something I hadn't already seen before. So I thought, oh, it'll be fresh. It's great. I went in, and the first thing I kind of get is this idea of how claustrophobic the film made me. I'm like, I have to admit, this is like the Jaws effect. When people watch Jaws and said they were never going to go back in the ocean again, I was like, yes. Fuck, I ain't going spelunking ever. I don't know what the hell's in those damn caves. I was like, I always loved looking at caves, and I've been in some larger caves, but not like hiking through caves like they do in the movie. Like I could stand upright in the caves I've been in, so I didn't have to feel what the claustrophobia that the characters in this movie did. But this movie was like, I was more terrified for this claustrophobia when I saw it at the theater, because it's like, oh shit, this is, and you don't see everything that's going on around them. And I was like, oh, yeah. Man, that's like, it got to me. It really did. And that's why I always love this movie. And I've seen this movie with several other people over the years as well. And, in 2025, it celebrated its 20th anniversary. So that's why you saw it brought up. I would have loved to have seen this movie again at the theater with a big audience.
Oh my gosh. So much fun, and so many little things. Like, I know watching it every other time after you see it, you start noticing the
Yes.
background more. And while we were in the theater, I swear I noticed so much more just because it's right there and in your face.
Yeah, yeah. I noticed on this more recent viewing, a lot of the different looks that Juno gives throughout the very beginning before it's revealed about her character.
Yes.
I'm hoping that everyone has seen this movie already because this is like a heavily talked about movie, and it's by far with Dark Dog Soldiers one of Neil Marshall's most effective and talked about movies. Like some of his other movies are not
Yes.
nearly talked about as much as these two are. So even though you may have never seen, if you've never seen the film, we're just like generally saying a group of friends go spelunking into this cave system because one of them has had a traumatic experience a year ago and her entire family was killed in a car wreck, and they're just trying to help her get over the kind of the stress and the PTSD that she has of this. Um, I don't see how go spelunking in the cave is supposed to alleviate that, but in the film, I realized that when they do the river rafting at the very beginning, and it's just the three in the river raft, and you see the husband just standing watching, and he's like, "I ain't getting in there." More or less, you get that impression that these are some fearless women. Um,
Yes.
and so even though she's suffering from the tragedy in the family, the main character Sarah is like she do this is what she would do. She goes spelunking to get past that. I was like, shit. I was like,
Yeah, they are thrill seekers to the extreme, and especially with this, it shows.
yeah.
Um,
Well, the thing I enjoyed about the movie is when I rewatched it, I was not as I guess the all the previous time I've seen the film, I hadn't realized just how gung ho all the characters actually are. Even the youngest of the group, Holly, who is the one who that most of the other characters have not met until then because she's brought on with Juno. Holly is like she's jumping right in, wanted to be the first person to explore shit, and she's filming everything. And you'd think that she would be the one that was most held back. As
mhm.
and it's the same with the Sam character. The Sam character's sister is more or less guiding her, but she's constantly telling her sister, "Hey, I can handle this. Like I've done this before." Like she's going to college to be a doctor, and so she sees dead bodies and stuff all the time, and she is not phased by that. But you get that sense that all of these characters are freaking thrill seekers in this film, which
Yeah.
makes it much more interesting because it's something like I don't think I really kind of grasped that when I originally saw the film, and of course, subsequent times until now, I just kind of watch it because it's entertaining as shit. I wasn't thinking about all the intricacies of all the characters and stuff.
But yeah, it's such a fascinating movie because you don't get many horror movies that the entire cast is women. You
Hmm.
always get that nice mix, but these are all essentially final girls diving into the dark, ready to attack. Nobody is careless or anything else. I mean, other than the first chick, what's her name? Uh
Which one? The first one to die? Holly?
no, Juno.
Juno? Oh,
She is probably the most reckless out of everybody, but everybody else is very hardcore and like, no, we can do this. We're gonna make our way through. We're gonna do whatever it takes to get back and just keep going. Um,
go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was so I that was always my impression of Juno until I rewatched it. Because when I rewatched it, because I thought some of her recklessness was she was thinking ahead of everyone else. But my first kind of watching the film, I always thought, well, she's just trying to show off and stuff like that. So she's being reckless in that regards. But in reality, she's actually thinking ahead of everybody. Because like I think the most reckless thing she does, in my opinion, is that instead of going to the cave system that you're supposed to be going to, she decides that she wants to go to a new one that no one has ever named or
Yes.
explored. She's thinking that it would be a good way to put Sarah's name out there as a permanent name on a cave, but Sarah obviously thinks that Juno's just doing it for her own benefit, and which I think is a balancing act in the film because Juno after they encounter the crawlers, wants to go back and save Sarah. Like she's not thinking about herself. She wants to go back and save
Well,
Sarah.
and see, that's the thing is I think that Juno throughout the entire movie is quite selfish. I mean, it starts with her having the affair with the husband and then deciding that they're going to go do this cave that has never been explored before, and she uses Sarah as an excuse. Um, but then Juno's just kind of reckless and careless when it gets to the point where she like accidentally kills Beth. Um, and it's just one thing after another with Juno that it just left a sour taste in my mouth that I was like, you don't like this character from the beginning, and then they are only in this predicament because of her. And yes, she might help them throughout the cave, but at the end of the day, she was mostly trying to escape by herself.
Yeah. See, for me, I would have thought the same way. I think she's a much more complicated character, only because of certain aspects of that, that with certain things that she reacts to. I think not actually killing Beth and not telling Sarah, I think was a bad choice, and I think
Mhm.
but I think she has a lot of guilt too. I think she has a lot of guilt with having had an affair with Sarah's husband. I think she has a lot of guilt that she's trying to make up for. And it just makes her have very bad decisions throughout the film. I don't think she does it on purpose. I think one bad decision it has led to her guilt the entire time. Like she doesn't stay very long after her husband has died. She doesn't. I mean, it's those things that I think she has a lot of guilt that if her husband had survived, she wouldn't have. But because he died, she has a lot of guilt because Sarah was one of her best friends. I think if this all could have been differently, maybe she knew the husband before she knew her. Who knows?
Yeah,
You don't get
who
that
knows?
impression. We have like a day with these characters inside that cave, and shit falls apart really fast. Um,
Yes.
but it's a good lead up to all this. It's a before we even see the first crawler, it's a great lead up in like you're seeing how real people might actually do and construct a spelunking adventure. I would love to
Yeah.
know how much research Neil Marshall actually did before he wrote this, uh, because this seems very specific and very direct with the type of film that he presented here. And it's a very tightly written film, I would say.
Yes. I mean, like I said earlier, like the entire first half is a spectacular, like spatial horror film. If you are claustrophobic, it is not for you. It's like
Yeah.
watching what is it, As Above, So Below, where they've got
Oh
every
yeah.
tunnel like caving in on you. And it is they do a great job at making you feel like you're tight and stuck in that cave as well.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, cinematography in lighting and not lighting scenes, but you get a
Yes.
huge sense of everything. This is not like a found footage film where everything's in the freaking dark. Everything is very specific, and you see a lot of stuff, but you're also not seeing a lot of stuff. Or
Yes.
you think you see something, but you may or may not have seen it, which I thought was really well, especially when they first start to show the crawlers. Uh,
Yes.
you know, and even now when I rewatch the film, I think it's still a fucking effective film in the way in which it's all presented. I was like, oh, this is 20 years after it was originally released. It's
Yes.
still an extremely
It's still a fantastic movie. It's still worth going back and watching, especially if you haven't seen what they dictate as the real ending, versus the US ending.
so I it's been such a long time since I saw this at the theater. And so I don't remember how it ended exactly. I only have the director's cut, and I'm not sure if that was the right cut or not from when I saw it at the theater 20 freaking years ago. When I rewatched it, I was like, I don't think this is how it ended in the theater, but I don't remember.
Yeah, so the US one ends where Sarah is the only survivor. She manages to escape the cave. She crawls out, gets to her car, speeds away, has a breakdown, and then she hallucinates seeing Juno super bloody beside her. And I believe that that's where it ended for the US. For the UK, she wakes up and she's still in the cave.
Okay. So that's the version I saw, and for some reason, I think I've only ever seen this one once until before now, because that's why I was like, I don't remember that she wakes up back in the cave and she hears her daughter's whispering voice and then sees her with the birthday cake, and then
Yes.
it kind of just ends there with all the different voices of the crawlers around her, and that's how it ends. I was like, when I rewatched it, I was like, is this how it ended originally when I saw this movie? It so I was like I don't know. I don't remember. I'll have to ask about that because I just thought the director's cut just added some more gore and stuff in it. I do know or remember them discussing the fact that the original ending had her never getting out of the cave. But I don't recall when I saw this director's cut or when I bought it. That's just the version I watched for the podcast.
But yeah, it's one of those things that like a lot of people started questioning after the sequel came out,
Yeah.
that they're like, okay, is this like what is going on? What happened? Did it happen? Did it not happen? And then the second one, which I don't even remember anymore,
I neither do I.
but it's it's such a good ending because it's like at the end of the ruins where it's like either ending that you get is very traumatic either way.
Yeah, so which one do you prefer?
I prefer the one that she is in the cave, and because I mean they kept going down. How realistic is it that she would climb her way to freedom? I know that that's what everybody wants her to do, but realistic wise, it's like there is no hope at the end of that. There is no light at the end of the tunnel.
So when I was rewatching it, yeah, I then when I'm rewatching it, you want her to escape because of all the shit that she went through and
Yes.
it was going through, and that last scene of her with the shaft of light coming into the cave, and you just see her climbing over the bones to get out of that shaft of the cave. That's a really effective fucking.
Yes.
But the problem is, it makes it look like there's already a huge hole, and you see her popping out of the freaking moss and trees and stuff with her hand and stuff. And I was like, so how's all that light getting through there? That almost ruins it for me, is like just a little bit. But
Mhm.
I like the implications of the director's cut. The
Yes.
way it ends with her seeing her daughter with the birthday cake, and then her daughter disappearing. And you see that smile on her face, and then of course the crawlers you hear them all around, and then the lights don't go out. The movie just kind of ends. I actually do love the way that ends this film
Yes.
because I think that that's a much more effective ending if this film had only been a single film that no one bothered to think about sequels with. I think that's an excellent ending for the movie.
Yes. It's a very effective ending for a movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it's for me. I kept thinking about the way the movie The Mist ended. Uh,
Yes.
I was like, it's tragic, but it was like such a great ending for the movie. But it's tragic, and I'm thinking this is such a great ending for the movie. It's just tragic.
I know. It's one of those things, like I said, like in reality, you're hoping that they could get out of those situations, but realistic wise, you're like, that's what happens in the movie is typically what would happen in real life. And I mean, like you think about if she did get out of the cave, she then would have that trauma the rest of her life of I am the only survivor out of all my friends. She would not be okay in the dark ever again. And I mean, it's like, what is the better opportunity? Like going out fighting or being traumatized the rest of your life? I mean, you see it in so many other movies and it's so well done, but yeah, it's like there is no winning either way.
Yeah, because they kept killing a lot of these crawlers and they kept coming after her. And
Yeah.
it is really cool to watch the Sarah character start killing these crawlers with complete indifference. Because and that it reminded me of another great movie, You're Next, with the main.
Yes.
Yeah, I was like, I forgot how brutal the ending was. Because I think it's probably been about right before COVID. So I guess six
Mhm.
years almost now since I last saw the movie. I saw it with some friends, so I can't remember exactly what my reaction was, other than them enjoying the hell out of the movie because they had
Mhm.
never seen it. But I did like. I forgot how effective she is in that last part, that whole last part of the movie, the Sarah character. And then of course where she finds her friend, her best friend Beth's body with the bones, and Beth
Yes.
half alive, from what Juno did to her. And then of course she's forced to kill her best friend. And I was like, damn, she's gone through so much. And she comes out of that, but that she's stronger. She not
Mhm.
she's a stronger character, and you don't see that very often in these horror movies. And this is 20 years ago. I can't remember when Your Next came out, but when Your Next came out, it was fun to watch her through that shit. Uh,
Mhm.
when this came out, it was traumatic, and it was something you probably didn't see much. But she was killing those freaking crawlers like nobody's business, and that's the thing I liked about the movie. Like these characters were not afraid, and they were
Mhm.
trying to kill them and get to them as much as possible. Like, dude, they did not like they didn't cringe down. Like these are
Yeah.
seeking women, so they see crazy shit all the time. They do crazy shit, and when they come up against something they don't know anything about, they still don't buckle. I like that about this.
Yeah, it's very much like I think they hid like once or twice because they were freaked out. They didn't know what they were dealing with. But as soon as they knew what they were dealing with, they were like, okay, let's do this. And going off of what you said with like the newer You're Next, I think we've gotten into the more good for her horror films where you're like cheering her on, whereas this, the whole movie is very just traumatic.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot
Whereas
of
like,
comedy in this.
yeah. So everything now that comes out, you're like, yeah, good for you, dude. You're doing what you need to. And in this one, it's like, man, it is just ruthless.
Yes, yes. Like I see the final girl or in films like Your Next and Ready or
Hmm.
Not, and those are the type
Yes.
of those are the type of female characters we see nowadays. Like they're not gonna just cringe and buckle in a little corner. They're gonna start kicking some asses. But with those films, there's a little bit more comedy in play, whereas this one's just brutal. Like,
Yeah, it's just brutal the entire way through.
yeah, yeah,
Which Dog Soldiers was too. It's the
yes.
same kind of darkness, which I appreciate because I love both of these movies so much. I can't pick a favorite.
I Dog Soldiers is one of my favorite werewolf movies, especially modern werewolf
Oh
movies.
my gosh, yes.
And this one, and I don't want to ever make reference to the crawlers being fucking vampires like some people have said. They're not.
No, they're
They're
not. They're like mole people. I
they're
mean,
like little
it's
people. They may be in the caves, and they did that whole reference with the when they go into the main when the main our characters go into the main shaft. They all the bats assault Sarah for the first time. I like it, but they're not vampire. They may rip
no.
throats out every once in a while and all that. They might, but they actually look like they're feeding on the flesh of these characters. So, and I hate when people reference this as a vampire film. I was like, they're not vampires. They're not drinking the blood. They're eating everything.
No, and it's one of those horror tropes I was thinking about the other day is what kind of cryptids we don't see enough of. And this is one of the big ones is there are the cave crawlers of Appalachia, which is what this movie is based on. And you get all these tunnels that are interconnected all across the east coast of the US that people have sworn they're cave dwellers and everything else down there, and nobody does enough movies about these things because like you really do get the mole people aspect where they're extremely pale, they're doing more echolocation than they are seeing anything because they're used to being in the dark the entire time. So it's one of those crazy things that I'm surprised more people haven't done more with.
Because I can only think of this movie in The Cave, which is more forgotten than
Yes.
anyone else. Anything else. Although I love The Cave. I love cave movies. I tell you, I love cave movies. I think of these two movies as prime examples of that. But you're right, no one does these movies. It's like you don't do many movies on the water because the water just causes you to have lots of other headaches that you have to deal with.
Hmm.
Caves, I wouldn't be surprised have their own problem child going with them too, which is why no one does them that often. Uh,
Yeah.
It's sad though. It's sad. It's sad because we only get these occasional great movies like The Descent that comes out, and I I can't think of any other really good cave movies out there.
Yeah, I mean you don't get a lot. You get a little bit with Bone Tomahawk, but it's nowhere near this level of just caves.
Yeah, yeah. There was that one movie that James Cameron produced that I can't remember the name of with Ian Gaffild in it, and that was horrible. And I can't remember what it's called, but it was horrible. Uh, uh, but yeah, there's just not enough of them. I really wish they would make them, and I wish. And the thing about Neil Marshall is he has not strayed from doing his weird monster movies.
Hmm.
Even with his more recent movie, The Lair, but that one wasn't nearly as effective as this movie was, and I'm sure he wanted it to be. Um, I do hope that he goes back to it because he created two of the best dog soldiers in this one. Uh,
Yeah.
but I wasn't. I hope he goes about it in a different way. Like I think after this film, his films became less effective. I think he did some decent movies, but these two were like at
Mhm.
the height of his creativity slash with monsters. I would love to see him do some other stuff that actually is effective. Because I don't know if you
Yeah.
saw The Lair or not.
I don't think I did because I was looking at some of his other stuff and I was like, man, I haven't seen most of this stuff. I know some of it's been on my list.
I still think I've seen most of his films. I don't think there's one that I hadn't seen because I bought The Lair when it came out because I'm a huge fan of his.
Hmm.
And I think we don't have enough people and I'm a huge monster film fan. I just don't think there's enough directors out there who stay in the monster film realm because they just don't make money. We
Well,
talked.
and it's hard nowadays to do a monster film where the monster isn't just CGI BS and you've got a real monster.
Yeah. I mean, that was the problem with The Lair. You could tell a lot of it was like CGI and it just wasn't a strong film. But,
Hmm.
hopefully. Um, yeah, so well, we'll see. But getting back to The Descent, I wanted to go into other aspects of this film because sorry everybody, we haven't really gone into much of the plot because essentially the plot is these thrill seekers go into a cave and encounter some crawlers. But this film is such a character driven film that even though you have like
Yes.
roughly 2 days to get to know these characters, so much is revealed through their interactions with one another or their lack of interactions with others. Because essentially they're supposed to be all best friends and Holly's the only new one. But
Hmm.
you could tell, especially in the Beth character, that she sees the secrets behind Juno and is like, I don't really trust Juno 100%, but she doesn't know why. It's just something that she feels and you see it. And it's the way that the movie is directed and edited that you see this without having ever been told, which makes it really hard when um, Beth is telling Sarah after she's been wounded by Juno that you just can't trust her, meaning Juno. Don't trust her. It's like, well, she's known all along that Juno is like not exactly trustworthy, but she doesn't know exactly all the details why until she gets a freaking a pick. I think it's a the hiking pick in her throat. Ugh.
Yeah.
It's so horrible that she goes out that way. It does.
Well, and most of this movie is hard to fully describe because so much happens, but it's very much narrowed down to the dealing with crawling through tight spaces and getting lost and getting trapped and then just getting attacked by monsters or each other. Because there's like the whole blood pool scene, which is probably one of the most iconic from the film. But it's like kind of hard to talk through the rest of the movie because it all kind of happens on top of each other.
Yeah, once the colors start, the movie does not stop. It's a adrenaline rush, which it should be, because it's about some
Yes.
seekers you're spelunking. So they don't ever stop. Once the crawlers show up, this movie is on high octane. It's on a ticking time bomb. It from one moment to the next. Even the few moments that you see the Becca and Sam character hiding from the crawlers it's so
Hmm.
effective because you're seeing everything from the green lights, which the crawlers can't see. And like the cinematography in this movie is freaking amazing. The green light has this green hue over everything, and just seeing the crawlers because they can't they go by echolocation, and it's probably I don't know as much smell as much as that echolocation because I would
Yeah.
think that they would be able to smell the Becca and the Sam.
Well, and I think that's why at one point they do cover themselves in blood and other dead things so that they can't be found.
Oh.
So
Oh,
I think it's that mix of hearing and smelling, but it's mostly the hearing because, they're all screaming for help. So it makes it really easy to find them.
well, it's really interesting you bring that up because Juno cries out for everyone else so often in this movie when the crawlers show up, but none of the other characters do.
Hmm.
I found, and see, that's why I get a little bit. I give Juno a little bit more credit because if she because this is where I always thought that she was only out for herself, but then she's the only one who's calling out for everyone else to figure out what
Hmm.
they are. It's that's why I say her character is a little bit more complicated than I would have given her credit for from the very beginning. But that makes for a great second watch, third watch, fourth watch of the movie. You pick
Hmm.
up on these things, and there's a lot to pick up on in this film.
Yeah. Because,
Like
like you said, there's a lot of stuff that is said and not said just by looks that they give each other and history you find out in this like hour and a half long movie.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, and I think what makes it such a effective film is also how uncompromising it is. Each one of the characters has an effective death. Sam having another tragic one. Uh,
Yeah.
but it's suspenseful and tragic. And I have to mention it because I actually when I rewatched it, I thought how really cool that scene was where Sam has they've all been getting chased by the crawlers, and Sam actually gets ahead of her sister Becca, and I think was Juno there or Sarah there? No, I think Juno was there. Juno was there. So she gets ahead of them, and they come across the another break in the caves, and she has to climb the ceiling like they did earlier in the film.
Hmm.
But as she's making her way over, she's reckless because she doesn't have enough hit points to actually put in there. But she's kind of reckless in that regard. So she gets ahead of them and she does all their stuff, gets stopped about halfway through. And the cool, crazy thing is you see this crawler climbing upside down on the freaking ceiling, which means that they have adapted really coolly in there because they're
Yes.
climbing on ceilings now. The cool thing is that she still gets a little bit of licks in with this crawler because she's getting attacked from a crawler upside down, and she thinks she kills it, stabs it, he falls, but the crawler also slices her up and she dies, and you see her body just limp hanging from the ceiling of the cave. So these characters are still going out with fighting, like they're not gonna
Yeah.
stop going out fighting. And I love that scene. I love that scene. It's a tragedy. The whole movie's a tragedy.
The whole movie's a tragedy, and
The
there's
whole
so
movie's
many great shots, great
oh.
scenes. It's hard to pick a favorite. Like I said, I think the most iconic is the first time the crawler's revealed and the blood scene of like the blood pool, but there's so many wonderful shots in this movie.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, there's a lot of great stuff in this movie, and it's and I don't know what else to say. I'm like, dude, it's an extremely well done film. And like Dog Soldiers, Neil Marshall takes this ideal. He took the werewolves and he's taken like
Hmm.
this mythological what do you call it, cryptozoology type of creature, the cave
Cryptids. Yeah.
cryptid. Thank you.
Yeah.
I always get that I always forget that title. Something that most people would have never bothered to even invest a story in, and he's invested both of these films with these unique story with unique characters that makes them fascinating, not only on the initial viewing but also on subsequent viewing, which is why they're so popular. It's unfortunately some of his other films have not gone that route, but uh, these have, and they stand the test of time. As this one, as we has hit the 20th anniversary. as when we're recording this, the 20th anniversary, and it's like still effective, still being screened in front of audiences, still an amazing film. Whether you're a general horror fan like your friend who was scared to death by watching the film, or if
Yes.
you're a hardcore horror fan like me and you who just still love this movie 20 years on. So, all
But
right,
yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where like if you haven't seen this, you need to watch it. And why were you listening to this if you've never seen it, first of all? But second of all, if it's been a second since you've seen this, you need to watch it tonight. Make sure it's dark as all hell and just enjoy it.
yeah. Well, next time I watch that, we'll enjoy it, and I won't be taking notes for a podcast. Maybe I'll be lucky enough to get some more people who have never seen it to watch it. I like doing those type of watch lists because, like you were watching your friend, her reaction to it. I love watching other people's reaction to certain films that I think are extremely effective, like this.
Hmm.
And like we discussed in our podcast on Dog Soldiers, I watched that with my wife just to get her reaction. She had never seen it last year, I think it was when we watched it, or maybe 2 years ago now. And it was fun watching her reactions to that. One, because she doesn't watch that many horror films, and two,
Hmm.
she wanted to see this one or wanted to see Dog Soldiers. So I love watching reactions of people watching these movies. They're great. It's great. So. All right, Panazzo, you have any other things that we need to enlighten people on the Descent?
Um, the movie itself, not so much. I think we've said about as much as we possibly can about this. The fact that we haven't seen anything else about these kind of cryptids, as you will. I did find out the Tommyknockers are what would be one of the official versions of what these could technically be. But they are known for being in mines. Um, but there is another story like podcast called Old Gods of Appalachia that I keep meaning to listen to. And apparently there's more of this kind of stuff besides cryptids of all other types. So if you do like something like this, Old Gods of Appalachia might be one of your next go-tos for a story that might be similar, but talks more about the creatures than it does regular people. Um, but yeah, I love this movie. Everybody should watch it
Yeah,
multiple times in their life. But yeah, it's just a fun watch.
yeah, I will agree with you on that one. And just to kind of reiterate, because we've mentioned the director Neil Marshall a lot in this one. Um, I had to quickly go over through a lot of his other films, and after his Centurion, which is also a brilliant movie, he didn't really do many that were effective horror films. So I'm hoping that he gets back into it. Uh, Doomsday, if you have you seen Doomsday?
I have, and it's one of the ones that's on my list. It's funny because everything else that he has done that has been phenomenal has been TV show episodes. Like
Yes,
he's done
yes.
some of the big episodes of Game of Thrones, Hannibal, Westworld. So he's good at what he does. I just don't know what happened recently. I mean, he like did his passion projects, which were really good, and then I'm not sure what happened where it was just he kind of disappeared doing other projects.
I will tell you that Doomsday is fun. It's
Yes.
an interesting concept, but it's not the most effective film. Centurion was much better. I think that was my last great, in my opinion, his last great film. Because then, of course, he went to do Hellboy and The Lair, which we don't talk about that Hellboy that he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, we kind of let's not talk about that one. But there is always hope that he will come back to the fold because you're right. I forgot that he did some excellent episodes from Westworld and Hannibal.
Let alone Game of Thrones. He did The Watchers on the Wall season 4, which is the big battle there. He did Blackwater of season 2, which is also a huge battle. Like they're renowned episodes.
hmm,
And yeah, like I said, like even looking at his movie history, like you've got these big ones, The Descent and Dog Soldiers, and then he's got a couple of his movies, a couple of TV shows, and then he gets kind of back into movies that I think he just directed but didn't write, and it just kind of falls off around there. So
I think so.
we need him back.
we need him back. We need him back to doing some really good works. No, I will not disagree with you on there. And hopefully, if he ever listens to our podcast, he will agree with us that, he has an amazing eye for monster films and he needs to go back
Yes.
to some of those. Don't get me wrong, Centurion is freaking brilliant, but Dog Soldiers and The Descent are absolutely fabulous movies that I would recommend anyone, whether you're a fan of horror or not, to watch. You can enjoy these films, both of these films, with by yourself or with a huge group. So.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so with that, I want to thank you, Panazzo, for joining us on this conversation in regards to The Descent from director Neil Marshall. What we like to do, everyone, is at the end of our program, we like to go ahead and rate the film, just so you have an idea of what we think about the film. So we do a 1 to 5 star review, 1 being poor, 5 stars being amazing. Where on the spectrum, Panazzo, do you put this film?
This is a 5-star. Like I said, this movie, I don't want to say it's flawless, but it almost seems like it. It's such a strong story, such strong cinematography. Even the monsters alone aren't the creepy part. The whole claustrophobia of the cave systems will really get you. And the monsters are just like the icing on top of the cake. So it is such a great and terrifying movie to experience for the first time. If somebody hasn't seen it, it is definitely an essential of the horror genre. But yeah, it is great to go back and rewatch over and over again.
No, I'm gonna agree with that one. I'm gonna give it 5 stars too. If I was to, and I'm gonna give 5 stars to the director's cut. I'm going to dismiss the fact that there is a sequel for this review.
Yes.
And this by itself, if it never had a sequel, is like for me, one of the few perfect horror films. Does not need a sequel. The way it ended, the original director's cut, I think is absolutely brilliant. I wish I had seen that version at the theater. But I know that's not the one I saw. Because even though I want her to have a happy ending, I am glad that she doesn't in the director's cut. It's a much more poignant ending that stays with you long after the credits roll, and those are the type of movies that I go back and rewatch. I can actually deal with not having a happy ending in a horror film. My favorites are ones that don't end in happy endings. They're more ambiguous. So with that, I would like to thank everyone for joining us on the program today. I hope that you will check out previous programs that we've had on many amazing films, including Dog Soldiers, which had me and Panazzo talking about that. We hope that you've enjoyed that one. Make sure to check out our show on your favorite podcast app, Spotify, or YouTube. And then make sure to check out our sister podcast, Conversations in 4Color, which is on our Patreon page. Now, that podcast is a subscriber-based podcast, so you will have to be a subscriber to have access to that one. But we talk about comic books, manga, and graphic novels. And then head over to our new podcast, which is Conversations in Hammer Studio Horrors, in which we discuss nothing but the greatness of the 60s and 70s Hammer Studio films. So if you are a fan of them, you will enjoy that podcast as well. From all of us here at Something Wicked Entertainment, Broken Lighthouse Pictures, have a nice day, and we will see you on our next program. Conversations in Horror is a Broken Lighthouse Pictures production, written, produced, and directed by Kevin L. Powers, executive producer Kelly A. Inoka. All contents and material from this episode of Conversations in Horror is copyright 2025 Broken Lighthouse Pictures.